Hello, if you could just state your name, when you graduated, and your current occupation.
Yes, name is Dr. Leonard Brock. I am a graduate from the class of 2005 from the MPA program. My current occupation is I'm an executive for a nonprofit organization where I'm currently employed with a research policy and advocacy organization by the name of the Children's Agenda.
Okay, so what are some of your responsibilities on the job?
I'm responsible for coordinating and aligning institutional resources and institutional leaders. So I was appointed initially to build out a new K-12 education track. So when I first was hired at the Children's Agenda, my job was to do some contract work with the Greater Rochester Health Foundation to revise the healthy weight strategy, or the 5210 Be a Healthy Hero. So I was very instrumental in the redesign work that went into that particular campaign and effort. And then I transitioned into a new role to build out K-12 education within the organization, because we focused on early childhood and after school. And given our involvement in Rock the Future, which is an education reform effort, I was appointed to serve as the Alliance Director. So my job consists of staffing that particular effort, so managing the communications, developing the action plan, the strategic framework, the governance guidelines, and ensuring that the organization is successful and sustainable.
Okay. So what was your favorite thing about the MPA program?
The multidisciplinary approach. I think the MPA program, in many regards, woke me up as a student. And it gave me a sense of purpose for governance that I didn't have prior. I always wanted to run an organization or be responsible for an organization, but the MPA equipped me with the skill set of being able to understand finance in a much more meaningful way, strategic planning, organizational management, HR. So the ins and outs of running an operation was one of the most value-added contributions the MPA provided me. So the skill competencies, as well as the educational opportunities to learn about managing an operation.
So when you were going to school at Brockport, is this what you thought you would be doing with your degree?
Essentially, yes. When I forgot what class, but I was asked to write a goal statement or a resume as if I was going to leverage the MPA for the ideal job, and I always envisioned running a nonprofit organization. So yes, I'm actually applying the degree as I envisioned, not necessarily the specific area as it relates to policy and the work I'm doing currently, but I always envisioned running a nonprofit organization. And my experience prior to the job I'm at now was pretty consistent with that goal.
Okay. So how did you end up in your current position after graduation?
Yes, well, I worked at the Community Place of Greater Rochester, which is a human service organization, and I was employed there for 7 years, and I worked up the ranks. I started as a program coordinator and eventually was appointed to associate vice president when I decided I wanted to do something a bit different. So I was able to experience change at the neighborhood level, but I wanted to engage in broader systemic work. So I wanted to make the leap from grassroots to treetops, so to speak, so I can have a much broader impact. And that will lead me down this particular path in looking at the Children's Agenda, because they're a very credible organization in Rochester, and they are very progressive in the area of policy and advocacy. So I applied for a policy analyst position in which I was I guess identified as a potential candidate, but I had declined, and eventually the organization was quite pleased with my candidacy, so they created a position for me. So
Students may look at this interview one day and say, wow, I want a job like that too. So how did you make it happen?
Persistence, just the personal grit that the program instills within its candidates or students that are participating within the program. I think just being very clear about what my future held, and really making a deliberate effort to be forward-thinking in my approach to the work. So as opposed to being reactive and having my degree and just expecting for the degree to work and do the work on its own, I actually leveraged the degree and I actually projected what I wanted to do with it. So just having a vision and being clear about what that vision is, and if possible, document the vision. I think that's one of the most critical elements that I would advise a student who are aspiring to do something similar to me, being a CEO for a nonprofit or executive director. I would say be very strategic in your thought process and lay out those particular plans.
So what are some of the transferable skills you learned through the MPA program that helped you get the job that you have now?
I think all the skills, honestly, and I say that not to oversell the program, but honestly, I've used every single, I want to say, class and experience to propel me for the work I'm doing now. As I made reference earlier in the interview, human resource management was a course I took that serves beneficial for the role I'm in now. Finance, budgeting, strategic planning, those were all courses that I still use to this day. Those are required competencies for being an executive for a nonprofit organization. So all the skills are transferable.
So you kind of already said this, but what's your advice for current students who are looking to set themselves up for a great job upon graduating?
I think find your niche or whatever skill set, whatever nuance you bring or add to the field and exploit it. So if there's something a student does particularly well, I would encourage them to use that to their advantage. Don't harp on whatever weaknesses. You can't be a jack, well, some people are a jack of all trades. And what I've done was I stretched myself too thin trying to do everything. If you could focus and finish, I think that is probably one of the most poignant tips or pointers I would give to a student, is to focus and finish. Don't stretch yourself too thin. Don't try to do everything at once. Write down a vision. Be clear about what the vision is and pursue it. And don't be afraid to be flexible. Build in course corrections, but as long as you are clear of the end goal, just pursue it with all vigor.
All right, well, thank you for coming to the interview.
Thank you.